Okay, so in this lecture, let us discuss linear phase FIR filters, finite impulse response filters. And I have repeatedly told you that exact linear phase is achievable only by FIR digital filters. So, whenever we want to achieve exact linear phase, the only solution is FIR filters. By using IIR filter or any other means, you can't achieve exact linear phase. Therefore, linear phase filters are FIR filters. Okay, so linear phase cannot be obtained by analog filters, cannot be obtained by IIR filters. They can only be approximated, whereas exact linear phase can be derived only from FIR filters. And this is why FIR filters are very important. In general, what you can do by a second order IIR filter, you will require a very large length if you want to have the same performance from an FIR filter. Okay, like a second order IIR may require maybe 200th order FIR filter. Okay, so the order will be very high. So it's very costly because it is 200th order, right? But in the case of IIR, you can realize within the very low order, like a second order or third order. But if you want to get the same performance from FIR, then you have to go with a very large order, and it's very costly. But if exact linear phase and no delay distortion is the precise requirement, then you have no other alternative. Okay, so we will show that linear phase FIR filters must obey symmetry and anti-symmetry. Okay, so symmetry and anti-symmetry of impulse responses. So let's say h of n is equal to plus or minus h of capital N minus small n, and this is the condition for linear phase. So whenever you want to achieve linear phase, then this condition must be satisfied. The impulse response must be symmetrical or anti-symmetrical in order to achieve linear phase. So we will show this in a little while. So now let us discuss length of the filters. Length of the filter. So if I have a samples h of n, let's say n is equal to 0 to 1 to up to, let's say, capital N minus, let's say capital N. Okay, now what is the length? You can count starting from 0. In this case, the length will be, what is the length? Length will be n plus 1, number of samples. Okay, so obviously we can have the impulse response can have symmetry and anti-symmetry here. Anti-symmetry, two conditions, two types, and the length can be even and it can be odd. Okay, so what is the length? Length is n plus 1. This n plus 1 is a number, it's an integer that can be even or odd. So we have four possibilities now: symmetry or anti-symmetry, then even and odd. So let me take h of n. This h of n can be symmetry or anti-symmetry. Okay, and the length can be odd or even. Okay, therefore four possible cases arise. So what are those four possible cases? H of n can be symmetrical and odd length, right? This is one type. H of n can be, or H of n is symmetrical and even length. This is another type. Similarly, H of n is antisymmetrical and again odd length. H of n is antisymmetrical and then the length is even. Okay, even length. Therefore, 4 possible cases, right? So these 4 types are usually designated as type 1 filter, and this is type 2 filter, type 3 and type 4 filter. So this is a general way of representing these types of filters. Now let us discuss type 1 filter. Type 1 means H of n is symmetrical, and what is the length? Length is n plus 1, length is equal to n plus 1, and this n plus 1 is odd. So if n plus 1 is odd, then what about n? N is even, and this n is called the order of the filter. Order of the filter. Okay, so to concretize our concept, let us consider a simple example. Let's say capital N is equal to 8. Okay, therefore we start from 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now if you count the number of samples, then it is going to be 9. So the length is 9 and the n value is 8. So this is the order. Now look at the symmetry. When I said symmetry, H of n is equal to H of capital N minus small n. Okay, and this small n starts from 0 and goes up to 8, right? The length is 9, I told you. Now what we require is that H of 0 must be or should be equal to H of 8, because this is a condition for symmetry. So whenever we want to realize a linear phase FIR filter, then the filter must obey either symmetry or anti-symmetry. So in type 1, this is symmetry. So therefore H of n must be equal to H of capital N minus small n. So what is a capital N here? 8. So H of n is equal to H of 8 minus n. Now substitute n is equal to 0. So what will you get? H of 0 is equal to H of 8. That means the value at n is equal to 0 must be the same as the value at n equal to 8, because of the symmetry property. Okay, H of 0 and H of 8 will couple. Similarly, if you substitute n is equal to 1, then H of 1 is equal to H of 8 minus 1, that is H of 7. Therefore, H of 1 will couple with the H of 7, like this, H of 7, right? So H of 2 is coupled with the H of 6. H of 3 should be equal to H of 5, isn't it? And the fourth sample is the loner. Okay, so it doesn't have any pair. It doesn't have a pair. So the symmetry is therefore around, what is this point? This point is 4. How do you write 4? 4 I can write 8 by 2, that is n by 2. Therefore the following points are noted. h of 0 should be equal to h of 8, h of 1 should be equal to h of 7, h of 2 is equal to h of 6, h of 3 should be equal to h of 5, and h of 4 is loner. It doesn't have any pair, and the symmetry is around 4. That 4 is nothing but 8 by 2. 8 by 2, where what is 8 here? 8 is the order of the filter. Okay, so now let us write the transfer function of this. So for simplicity, let me write down instead of writing h of n, let me write h suffix n. H of 0 I am going to write it as h suffix 0, h of 1 I am going to write it as h suffix 1, like that, to simplify the notation. Okay, I just don't want to write these brackets again and again, so I have made this simple notation. Okay, so you have h of h0, h1, h2, h3, h4, h5, h6, h7, h8. Okay, these are my impulse responses, and I have finite number of impulse responses. Okay, so the length is 9 here, that is why this is called a finite impulse response filters, and the zeroth sample is located at here, n is equal to 0. This is my h of n. Now take the z transform so that you will get the transfer function. We need to find out the transfer function. To find out the transfer function, take z transform. Okay, so h of z is equal to h0 z to the minus 1 plus h1 z to the minus 2, right? So let me write down in the following way, plus h1 z to the minus 1 plus h2 z to the minus 2, am I right? This is 0, z to the minus 0, h0 times z to the minus 0, h1 times z to the minus 1 plus h3 times z to the minus 3, and h4 times z to the minus 4. Recall the formula, z transform definition. H of z is equal to summation of h of n times z to the minus n, where n runs from minus infinity to plus infinity. So that's the formula. Substitute n is equal to 0, you'll get this. N is equal to 1, this one. N is equal to 2, 3 and 4. Now when you substitute n is equal to 5, then h of 5 and h of 3 both are pairs, isn't it? So h5 z to the minus 5 plus h6 z to the minus 6 plus h7 z to the minus 7 plus h8 z to the minus 8. Now because of the symmetry, we said h0 is equal to h8, h1 is equal to h7. So we apply those conditions here. Okay, so h0 z to the 0, let me write h0 plus h8. h8 is nothing but what? It is h0. So let me write down h0 z to the minus 8 plus h1 z to the minus 1 plus h1 z to the minus 7, and then okay, h2 z to the minus 2 plus h2 z to the minus 6. This h6 is equal to h2 plus h3 z to the minus 3 plus h5 is the same as h3 z to the minus 5 plus h4 is a loner term, so z to the minus 4. Okay, so this is the transfer function. Now you see there are only 4 multipliers, because because of symmetry. Okay, 8 multipliers have been reduced to 4. Now you can rearrange this I can write it as, you can take h0 commonly outside, 1 plus z to the minus 8 plus h1, you can take it out within the bracket, z to the minus 1 plus z to the minus 6, then h2 take commonly outside, z to the minus 2 plus z to the minus 6 plus h3 within a bracket, z to the minus 3 plus z to the minus 5. Okay, the first two term would be this, second two term would be this, third two term would be this, fourth two term would be this, and the lower term h4 times z to the minus 4. Okay, now let us simplify this. Now if I take z to the minus 4 out, then h4 will be left with no power of z. Okay, so I do that now. Your h of z is equal to, you take out z to the minus 4 commonly outside, then what will you get? You will get h naught times z to the power 4 plus z to the minus power 4. Similarly here, h1 times z to the minus 2, am I correct? No, it is minus 3. I'm sorry, this is not minus 6, this is minus 7. I'm very sorry. Okay, so plus z to the minus 4, this is plus 3 minus 4. Okay, plus h2 z to the okay, what will I get if I take plus 2 plus z to the minus 2 plus h3, then z to the 1 plus z to the minus 4 plus h4. Okay, to find the frequency response, what shall we do? Substitute z is equal to e to the j omega. So e to the minus j times 4 omega multiplied by h0 plus e to the j 4 omega plus e to the minus j 4 omega plus h1 times e to the j 3 omega plus e to the minus j. What did I do? This is not minus 4, this is 3 omega plus h2 e to the j2 omega plus e to the minus j2 omega plus h3 e to the j omega plus, I'm sorry, here this is plus minus 1 e to the minus j omega plus h4. And now you can combine these two terms. These two terms become cos 4 omega, and this becomes cos 3 omega, 2 cos 3 omega, and this is 2 cos 2 omega, 2 cos omega, like that. Okay, so this is e to the minus j 4 omega multiplied by 2 times h naught cos of 4 omega plus 2 times h1 cos of 3 omega plus 2 times h2 cos of 2 omega plus 2 times h suffix 3 cos of omega plus h4. Okay, and these terms inside the summation, these terms gives constant phase, which can be 0, pi, 2 pi, 3 pi, depending on the sign Okay, sine of this real quantity. This all are real quantity, isn't it? This is a real quantity, and depending on the sign of this real quantity, you'll get either 0 degree, pi, or 2 pi, 3 pi, like that, constant phase. But what about this exponential factor? Okay, this says the phase is minus 4 omega. Okay, therefore in general, in the left hand side I have h of omega. This h of omega I can write it as e to the minus j4 omega, and this whole term I'm going to write it as h tilde of j omega, or simply omega you can write it. Okay, let me write it simply h tilde of omega. This h tilde of omega is called what you call pseudo magnitude. Okay, I am going to introduce a new symbol h tilde of omega, where h tilde of omega is a real quantity. Okay, and since it poses real part, and also it gives certain magnitude and also phase. Okay, so this is called a pseudo magnitude. Because it can also have a phase, therefore it is called a pseudo magnitude. It is not absolute magnitude. Okay, you cannot say simply it's a real value, even though it is real, but it gives certain amount of phase with respect to omega. So that is why this is called a pseudo magnitude instead of calling simply magnitude or simply a real number or real quantity. Say this cos function is a real function, and cos 3 omega, this all are real, but still even though it is real, it doesn't have any imaginary part, but there is certain amount of phase associated with this real quantity. That is why this is called a pseudo magnitude. It is not completely real magnitude, it is not completely phase, it has both. That is why this is called pseudo magnitude, that is denoted by a special symbol h tilde of omega. And there is an exponential part, and this exponential part will give you a phase, and that phase is 4 omega. Okay, therefore the phase of this h of omega, let me denote by phi. H of omega, let me denote it by phi. This phi is equal to minus 4 omega from this guy, and from this part I am going to get some amount of phase. Let me denote that phase by beta, some quantity. This beta can be 0, pi, 2 pi, 3 pi, and so on and so forth. That is multiples of pi. Now what is the group delay? Group delay is denoted by tau suffix g of omega, and this is the negative gradient of your phase, d phi by d omega, differentiate with respect to omega. So this is equal to, if you differentiate this with respect to omega, then you will get minus 4. And what about this one? If you differentiate, you will get 0. Why? Because it is taking constant value. Therefore your tau g of omega group delay is going to be minus 4. Okay, already I have here one minus, and there is one more minus, so minus times minus becomes plus, so it is plus 4. So the group delay is going to be plus 4. So what does it mean? 4 samples of delay. Okay, this 4 indicates 4 samples of delay. The filter provides 4 samples of delay for all the frequencies. Okay, so 4 samples of delay suffered by all frequencies which are passing through the filter. Okay, however, there is something fishy about it. Okay, I have concealed something. So wherever there is a phase transition, you cannot differentiate. Okay, see, there is a phase transition here, 0, pi, 2 pi, 3 pi. Okay, so there will be some delta functions. So this 4 samples of delay is the piecewise linear regions of the phase. Wherever there is a phase change, let's say the phase changes like this, the moment it reaches 4 samples, again there will be jump. Okay, jump of how much? Pi. So the phase is linear, piecewise linear. Okay, at these jumps obviously you cannot differentiate. Okay, so in this jump you cannot differentiate, there will be a delta function, del of omega minus pi or something. So the group delay is applicable for these linear regions only. So you should always consider the linear region and don't consider this region. Okay, so you should not consider the frequency at which the pseudo magnitude changes sign. Okay, it changes from because the pseudo magnitude contains a cosine function keep on oscillates like this, right? So positive to negative and negative to positive and changes. So in general, if the length of the filter is n plus 1 and this n plus 1 is odd and it is symmetrical, h of n is equal to h of capital N plus small n minus small n, then this is called a type 1 filter. Okay, and the transfer function will be of the following form. In general we can write, okay, so we already derived, but in general we will write down type 1. In type 1, if you look at this expression, the length is 8. For 8 you have this 4, 3, 2 and here 1. The coefficient is 1, right? So in general, how can I write for n? N is even, n plus 1 is odd. So how could I write it? So in this case, I can write as my h of e to the j omega. Look at this expression. This is e to the minus j4 omega. What is this 4? 4 is n by 2. That means 8 by 2. Right? So instead of writing that specific value, I am generalizing now. E to the minus j omega n by 2. And I can write the pseudo magnitude h tilde of omega. Now what is h tilde of omega? We can write very easily. Look at here. This h tilde of omega contains 2 times h naught times cos 4 omega. What is this 4? 4 is the 8 by 2. 8 by 2 is nothing but n by 2. Therefore, my first term will be, I am generalizing now, 2 times h0 of cos of, instead of writing 4 omega, I am generalizing now, it is going to be n by 2 omega, isn't it? The next term will be 2 times h1 cos of n by 2 minus 1 omega, 1 times omega. What is the next term? 2 times h2 cos of n by 2 minus 2 times omega plus and so on so forth. And there is one loner term. What is a loner? H suffix 4. This guy is a loner, and this h suffix 4 I can write as h suffix 8 by 2, that is h suffix capital N by 2. Okay, so h suffix capital N by 2. Now I can write this in the compact form, this guy. So instead of writing this like this lengthy expression, I may write it as follows. Let's say h of n by 2 minus n. I'm sorry. Yes, it's right. And cos of n omega. Am I writing correctly? Yes. Now you can expand this, you will get it. Okay. If you are in doubt, you can expand this. Substitute n is equal to 1 to n by 2. Okay, so this is h tilde of omega. In case if you take n is equal to 8, then the upper limit will be 4, and this guy will be 4 minus n, and substitute n is equal to 1, 2, 3 like that, you will get the this expression, you will get it back. Okay, simple verification, you can do it. We can do it. Okay. In case if you take n is equal to 8, then what is going to happen? This expression is going to be summation of n is equal to 1 to n by 2, that is 4, h of 4 minus n cos of n omega. Now substitute n is equal to 1 here, 2, 3, 4 like that, and then you will get the corresponding values. Substitute n is equal to 1, you will get h of 3 cos of omega. h3 cos omega, where is it? See, you got it here, h3 cos omega. Then substitute n is equal to 1, sorry, n is equal to 2. Then in this substitute n is equal to 2, therefore h of 2 times cos of 2 omega. Similarly, you can look at here. It is there. So like that you can verify this general expression. So there is of course there is a scaling factor, you put 2 here. Now combine this h tilde of omega and then with this expression you will get h of e to the j omega in general type 1 filter. See, the general expression is e to the minus j omega capital N by 2 capital N by 2 h tilde of omega, and this h tilde of omega I can write it as the lower term. What is the lower term? H of this guy, h of n by 2 plus 2 times summation of h of n by 2 minus n cos of n omega, where n goes from 1 to n by 2. So this is the general expression of type 1 filter. Okay, and this one is pseudo magnitude. So this is general formula, okay, and you must remember this. Okay, so this is a pseudo magnitude, and in fact it is not the magnitude. Once again, it has both magnitude as well as there is a phase change. It's not purely magnitude. So let us take an example of this type 1 filter. Okay, so let's say h of z is equal to h0 plus h1 z to the minus 1 plus h0 z to the minus 2. Now what is the length in this? Number of samples. Okay, so number of samples are 3. Okay, so length is 3. Therefore what is the length in general? N plus 1 is equal to 3. Okay, so the length is 3, therefore this is type 1 filter. Not only that, there is a symmetry, this one. It is symmetrical and moreover odd length, therefore this is a type 1 filter. Okay, because it is symmetrical and the length is odd. Now we can modify this as let me write h of z inverse. H of z inverse is equal to h naught plus h1 z plus h naught z squared, and then z to the minus 2 h of z inverse is equal to h naught z to the minus 2 plus h1 z to the minus 1 plus h naught. Now again I got back my h of z. What is h of z? This one. Look at these two expressions. H of z is h naught plus h1 z to the minus 1 plus h2 h0 z to the minus 2. The same expression I got it back here. Okay, so h naught is here, h naught, h1 z to the minus 1, h1 z to the minus 1, h naught z to the minus 2, h naught z to the minus 2. That means what? H of z is the same as z to the minus 2 h of z inverse. Okay, therefore I can write h of z is equal to z to the minus 2 h of z inverse. Okay, so if you multiply z to the minus 2 by h of z inverse, then you get back what you wanted. Therefore, in general, type 1 filters satisfy this condition. So this is for second order, right? Second order, where capital N denotes the order of the filter. Capital N denotes the order of the filter. Now in general, I can write this h of z, instead of writing h of z, let me put suffix n, z is equal to z to the minus n. Why did I put minus n? Because there is a 2 here for second order. For nth order, let me put z to the minus capital N times h of z to the minus 1. You put the suffix n here. It qualifies the nth order filter. Okay, and here capital N is the order of the filter. It is not the length of the filter. Length is n plus 1 and n is the order of the filter. Therefore, n plus 1 is odd. What about n? N is the even. Okay, therefore for type 1 filter, capital N is even, n plus 1 is odd. Okay, so please do not confuse between length and order. Okay, now in this case, you take this one. Now substitute z is equal to 1. Okay, if you put a z equal to 1, then h suffix n of 1 is equal to 1 to the minus n times h n of 1, and this is h n of 1. Okay, so therefore h n of 1 is the same as h n of 1. Now what is h n of minus 1? Suppose if we substitute z is equal to minus 1, what is going to happen? Then this is going to be minus 1 whole to the n and h n of minus 1. Okay, and this n is an even number, right? That is, if n is even, then h n of minus 1. The left hand side also h n of minus 1. So therefore h n of plus 1 is the same as h n of plus 1, h n of minus 1 is the same as h n of minus 1. Okay, so these are trivial things, but you will see that they have important effect in the other types of filters. Okay, so the other important property is that if z is equal to z naught, okay, let's say this z is equal to z naught is the 0 of h of n. Okay, then 1 by z naught must also be a 0. Why? Because h n of z is the same as z to the minus n h suffix n of z inverse. If this is the, if you solve this, you will get a root, okay, z equal to z naught. Now in this case, what is going to happen? Instead of z, it becomes z inverse. Z inverse is equal to 1 by z naught. Therefore, if z equal to z naught is a pole, then z inverse equal to 1 by z naught is also a pole. Sorry, 0. Okay, so that means what? H n of z naught is equal to 0. This implies h n of 1 by z naught is also equal to 0. Right? If h n of z naught is equal to 0, then obviously h n of 1 by z naught is equal to 0. Because the two are identical. If this becomes 0, then left hand side is 0. So therefore right hand side, this guy is equal to 0. Because they are two identical. Therefore, if z naught is a 0 of Hn of z, then so is h, then so is 1 by z naught. Okay, so in other words, zeros occur in reciprocal pairs. Let's say if 2 is a 0 of the Hn of h of z, then 1 by 2 is also 0 of h of z inverse, and this h of z and h of z inverse are related by this relation. Okay, in all pass filters, zeros and poles occur in reciprocal pairs that we have discussed. Okay, so we have discussed all pass filters APF. In this all pass filters, zeros and poles occur in reciprocal manner. They are reciprocal pairs. Similarly, where are the poles of an FIR filter? All of them are at the origin, z is equal to 0. So it is only the zeros that we are concerned with, and therefore the zeros occur in the reciprocal pairs. So Hn of z in general for an FIR filter is a polynomial, right? This is a polynomial in z inverse. Okay, so Hn of z is a polynomial whose zeros obey this relationship. Which relationship? This relationship. Okay, so that they occur in the reciprocal pairs. Therefore Hn of z as mirror image polynomial. What kind of mirror is it? If z naught after reflection gets 1 by z naught, what kind of mirror is it? Obviously not a plane mirror. It is a, if it is a plane mirror, then the distance would have been equal. So it is a concave mirror. Okay, when you look from inside a unit circle, when you look from, let's say this point is z naught inside a concave mirror, then okay, if there is a 0 at this point, then this 0 occurs in the reciprocal manner somewhere else here, and this is 1 by z naught. Okay, so this is called something called a concave mirror. It is not a plane mirror. Now let's, okay, so that's it about type 1 filter. Okay, so when I say FIR filter, then it's a polynomial. Okay, it's, when I say IAR filter, it's a ratio of polynomials. You have numerator polynomial and denominator polynomial. FIR filter is a polynomial in Z inverse or Z, and IAR is a polynomial. It has numerator polynomial and the denominator polynomial. Okay, in IAR filter, but in FIR filter you have only simple one polynomial. Now you solve this polynomial and equate to 0, you'll get the roots. Let's say the roots are z naught, the root is z naught. Let us assume, let us take one root and that root is z naught. Now you change the polynomial from z inverse in the following manner. Let's say this is my polynomial, FIR filter polynomial, FIR filter. Now multiply this Hn of z by z to the minus n and h suffix n of z inverse. Then also you will get another polynomial. So in this polynomial, if z naught is a zeros, then 1 by z naught is also zeros of this polynomial. Okay, so that's what I am trying to explain here. Okay, so let me stop at this point, and in the next lecture we will continue. Okay, we will continue this lecture for type 2 filters. Okay, so let me stop here. Thank you very much.